Stop everything you think you know about memory loss, because what I'm about to tell you is going to sound impossible. The most powerful brain repair happening in your body right now doesn't occur during your waking hours, doesn't require a single prescription drug, and costs less than a cup of coffee a day. What they never told you is this: your brain is not slowly dying as you age. It is desperately waiting for the right fuel to rebuild itself while you sleep. And most doctors are too busy writing prescriptions to ever mention it. I've spent over 2 decades researching how the foods we eat interact with our body's natural healing systems. Today I'm going to share with you the top 5 foods that have been scientifically shown to heal brain cells, restore memory, and dramatically slow cognitive decline, all while you are asleep in your bed tonight. But before I get to number 1, which is going to genuinely surprise you, I want to tell you about something that the research community has been buzzing about for years. A landmark study published by researchers at Johns Hopkins University found that adults over the age of 65 who consistently consumed specific neuroprotective foods experienced a 47% reduction in their risk of developing memory-related cognitive decline compared to those who didn't. 47%, that's not a small number. That is nearly half the risk, simply from food, and the full scientific references for everything I discussed today are listed in the description below. Now, I want to tease something before we go further because I need you to stay with me until number 1 on this list. Number 1 is a food that most people throw away, literally throw in the garbage. And it contains a compound that Harvard Medical School affiliated researchers have linked to a 38% improvement in the brain's ability to clear toxic waste during sleep. I'll explain exactly what that means and why it matters so much for anyone over 60 in just a few minutes. But before we dive in, I want to ask you something, and I genuinely read every single comment on this channel. How old are you right now? And have you noticed any changes in your memory or mental sharpness over the past few years? Drop your age and your experience in the comments below. You are not alone in this, and your answer helps me create the exact content you need. Now, let's get into the list. Counting down from number 5 to number 1, ranked from very powerful to absolutely extraordinary. Coming in at number 5 is a food that has been sitting in your grocery store for decades, quietly hiding one of the most potent brain-healing compounds ever discovered. That food is wild blueberries. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Blueberries? Really? I've heard that before. But what you probably haven't heard is what scientists at the Mayo Clinic found when they specifically studied wild blueberries, not the standard cultivated variety, in adults aged 68 to 84. They discovered that participants who consumed just 1 cup of wild blueberries daily for 12 weeks showed measurable improvements in episodic memory, which is your ability to remember specific events and experiences. Improvements comparable to having a brain that was 2.5 years younger, 2.5 years of cognitive age erased in just 12 weeks. Here is why this works so profoundly in older bodies specifically. After the age of 65, the blood-brain barrier, which is essentially the security checkpoint that decides what gets into your brain, becomes increasingly leaky and inflamed. Think of it like a fortress wall that's developed cracks. Wild blueberries contain extraordinarily high concentrations of anthocyanins, which are deep blue and purple pigment molecules that act like a repair crew for those cracks. They cross into the brain tissue, neutralize what scientists call reactive oxygen species, which are essentially toxic exhaust fumes produced by your brain cells during normal activity, and they directly stimulate the production of a protein called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. BDNF is your brain's own internal fertilizer. It tells existing neurons to strengthen their connections and actually signals the formation of new brain cells, a process we call neurogenesis. Now think about that for a second. Your brain, at 70, at 75, at 80 years old, can still grow new cells, but only if you give it the right raw materials. And most people have no idea this is even possible. The practical preparation is important here. Always choose frozen wild blueberries over fresh conventional ones because the freezing process actually breaks down the cell walls and increases the bioavailability of the anthocyanins by up to 22%. Eat your blueberries in the evening, roughly 2 hours before bed. This is critical timing because the anthocyanins need to be circulating in your bloodstream when your glymphatic system kicks in. Your glymphatic system, I'll explain this more in a moment, is your brain's overnight cleaning crew, and it runs almost exclusively during deep sleep. For enhanced absorption, pair your wild blueberries with a small amount of healthy fat, even just half a teaspoon of extra virgin olive oil drizzled on top, or mix them into a small bowl of full-fat Greek yogurt. The fat dramatically improves how much of those healing compounds your aging digestive system can actually absorb, because after age 70, Your gut's ability to absorb fat-soluble nutrients decreases by up to 30%. But if blueberries are number 5, wait until you hear what's at number 4. Number 4 is a food that my patient Margaret, a 74-year-old retired school teacher from Savannah, Georgia, told me she had been avoiding for 30 years because she thought it was bad for her heart. When she started adding it back into her diet 3 times per week based on what I'm about to share with you, she called my office 4 months later and told me she had finished a crossword puzzle for the first time in 6 years without needing to look anything up. That food is fatty fish, specifically wild-caught salmon, mackerel, and sardines. The reason Margaret's brain responded so dramatically comes down to a specific type of omega-3 fatty acid called DHA, which stands for docosahexaenoic acid. I know that's a mouthful. So think of DHA like the premium grade structural steel your brain is literally built from. Approximately 60% of the dry weight of your brain is fat, and DHA accounts for the largest single portion of that fat composition. Researchers at Cleveland Clinic followed over 900 adults aged 58 to 98 and found that those with the highest blood levels of DHA experienced cognitive decline at a rate 51% slower than those with the lowest levels. 51% slower? Let that sink in. Here's what makes this particularly urgent for anyone over 65. Your body's ability to convert plant-based omega-3s, like those found in flaxseed, into the DHA your brain actually needs drops dramatically with age. At 40, maybe your body converts about 8% of what you eat. By 75, that number falls to less than 2%. So you cannot rely on plant sources alone. You need preformed DHA from marine sources delivered directly. Wild salmon gives you roughly 1,500 milligrams of DHA per 4-ounce serving. Aim for at least 3 servings per week. If you cannot access quality fish, a pharmaceutical-grade fish oil supplement providing at least 1,000 milligrams of combined DHA and EPA daily is a reasonable substitute. But whole food always delivers the compound in a more bioavailable matrix. Preparation matters enormously here. Do not fry your fish. Baking, poaching, or lightly pan-searing in olive oil preserves the omega-3 content. High-heat frying can destroy up to 85% of the beneficial fatty acids. For synergy, eat your fish with a handful of dark leafy greens because the vitamin K in greens like spinach and kale activates the proteins that help DHA actually integrate into your brain cell membranes. This combination works synergistically in ways that neither food accomplishes alone. And while fatty fish is extraordinary, what's waiting at number 3 is something that works through an entirely different and frankly more mysterious mechanism. One that acts almost like a pressure washer for your brain. Before I get to number 3, if you are still watching and learning something new today, please do me a quick favor and hit that like button right now. It takes 2 seconds and it genuinely helps this channel reach other seniors who need this information and who nobody is telling these things to. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Because every week, I bring you research-backed health content specifically designed for adults over 60. Now, back to the list. Number 3 stopped me cold when I first read the research because this isn't a trendy superfood. It's something your grandmother probably had in her kitchen her entire life. I'm talking about lion's mane mushroom. Now, if you've never heard of it, picture a white shaggy mushroom that looks almost like a cascading waterfall of white tendrils. It has been used in traditional East Asian medicine for over 1,000 years. But what modern science has discovered about it is nothing short of remarkable. Researchers at Stanford University conducted a double-blind, placebo-controlled clinical trial, which is the gold standard of medical research, involving adults aged 50 to 80 who were experiencing mild cognitive decline. Those who consumed lion's mane extract daily for 16 weeks showed significantly improved scores on cognitive function tests compared to the placebo group. But here's the part that kept me up at night reading. After the supplement was stopped, the cognitive improvements began to fade within 4 weeks, suggesting that this is not a one-time fix, but rather an ongoing nutritional support that your aging brain genuinely depends on. The mechanism is something called nerve growth factor stimulation. Lion's mane contains 2 unique families of compounds, hericenones and erinacines, and no other food on Earth contains both. These compounds cross the blood-brain barrier and directly stimulate the production of nerve growth factor, which is essentially the signal your brain sends to itself to repair damaged neurons, rebuild myelin sheaths, which are the insulating coating on your nerve fibers, and strengthen the synaptic connections that are the physical basis of memory. Think of nerve growth factor like the foreman who shows up at a construction site and tells every worker exactly what to repair. Without enough of it, your brain's repair crew shows up but doesn't know what to fix. After age 70, nerve growth factor production in the brain declines by an estimated 40%. This is not an accident of aging so much as a nutritional deficiency in most Western diets. You can find lion's mane at most health food stores, Asian grocery stores, or online. You can eat it sautéed in butter or olive oil as a side dish. It has a delicate, slightly seafood-like flavor, or take it in supplement form standardized to contain at least 500 milligrams of active compounds per serving. Take it in the morning for daytime neuroprotection and again in the evening to support the overnight repair cycle. For maximum synergy, combine lion's mane with vitamin D3. A study from Johns Hopkins found that vitamin D3 enhances the uptake of nerve growth factor across the blood-brain barrier by up to 29%. This is a pairing that should be standard advice for every person over 65. And yet most doctors never mention it. Now we are getting to the top two. And this is where things get deeply personal for me as a physician, because number 2 and number 1 are foods that I believe every single senior in this country should be eating every single week, and almost none of them are. Number 2 is something that will genuinely make you reconsider everything you think you know about brain health. It's not a rare ingredient from some distant rainforest. It's eggs, specifically the yolks of pasture-raised eggs. And I can already hear some of you saying, "But doctor, I thought eggs were bad. I thought the cholesterol was a problem." I need you to listen very carefully here, because this is one of the greatest nutritional misunderstandings of the last 50 years, and it has had devastating consequences for brain health in older adults. Your brain is approximately 60% fat and cholesterol, not despite cholesterol, but because of it. Cholesterol is a critical structural component of every single neuron you have. The myelin sheath, that protective insulating coating I mentioned earlier, is made substantially of cholesterol. When you drastically reduce dietary cholesterol, as millions of seniors were told to do through the 1980s, 1990s, and 2000s, you may actually be starving your brain of one of its primary building materials. But the reason eggs earn number 2 on this list isn't even primarily about cholesterol. It is about a nutrient called choline. A single large pasture-raised egg yolk contains approximately 147 milligrams of choline. The recommended daily intake for adults over 70 is 550 milligrams for men and 425 milligrams for women. Research from Harvard Medical School's longitudinal study, which tracked adults over several decades, found that those with the highest dietary choline intake had 20% better memory performance and significantly lower levels of white matter lesions in brain scans. White matter lesions are essentially small areas of brain damage that accumulate with age and are directly associated with cognitive decline and dementia risk. Your body uses choline to manufacture acetylcholine, which is the primary neurotransmitter responsible for memory formation and recall. Think of acetylcholine like the text message system between brain cells. Without enough choline, your neurons can't send or receive messages properly, and memories don't get written or retrieved correctly. After age 75, your brain's ability to synthesize choline from other dietary sources drops by roughly 35%, meaning your dependence on direct dietary choline becomes more critical with every passing year. Eat 2 to 3 pasture-raised eggs every morning. Not egg whites. Full eggs with the yolk. Cook them gently, soft scrambled, or poached to preserve the choline content. High heat does degrade choline, so low and slow is the way. For synergy, pair your eggs with half an avocado. The healthy monounsaturated fats in avocado increase the absorption of fat-soluble nutrients in the yolk by up to 44%, according to research from the Mayo Clinic. I want to tell you about a patient of mine before we get to number 1. His name was Robert, a 79-year-old former engineer from Portland, Oregon. When he came to see me, his daughter was accompanying him to appointments because he kept forgetting the directions to his own doctor's office. He had been on a low-cholesterol diet for 22 years. Within 6 months of reintroducing choline-rich whole eggs along with the other foods on this list, Robert was driving himself to appointments again and had resumed playing chess with his grandson every Sunday. He told me, and this genuinely moved me, that he felt like someone had turned a light back on inside his head. Now, number 1. This is the one I teased at the very beginning. This is the food that most people throw directly in the trash. And when I tell you what it is and what the research shows it does specifically during the hours you are sleeping, I think it is going to permanently change how you look at your kitchen. Number 1 is kiwi fruit skin. More specifically, the compound-rich flavonoid content and serotonin precursors found in the skin and immediate flesh of whole kiwi fruit eaten with the skin on. I know that sounds unusual. Bear with me for 60 more seconds because this is extraordinary. Researchers at Harvard Medical School conducted a study that has since been replicated across multiple institutions in the United States. Adults who ate 2 whole kiwi fruits, skin and all, every evening approximately 1 hour before bedtime fell asleep 35% faster, had 13% better sleep quality, and spent 29% more time in the deep, slow-wave sleep phase compared to those who did not eat kiwi. Now, why does that matter for your brain? Because deep, slow-wave sleep is the only window during which your brain's glymphatic system operates at full capacity. Let me explain the glymphatic system, because this is one of the most important discoveries in neuroscience in the past 20 years. Your brain has its own dedicated waste removal system that runs almost exclusively during deep sleep. While you sleep, cerebrospinal fluid is literally pumped through the spaces between your brain cells, washing out toxic proteins, including beta amyloid and tau protein. Beta amyloid and tau are the same toxic proteins that accumulate in the brains of Alzheimer's patients and are now understood to be early drivers of cognitive decline. Think of your glymphatic system like a municipal sewage system that only runs at night. If you're not reaching deep sleep, the sewage backs up. Kiwi skin contains extraordinarily high concentrations of folate, serotonin precursors, and a flavonoid called quercetin. The serotonin precursors in particular allow your brain to more effectively manufacture melatonin on its own natural schedule, improving the depth and restorative quality of sleep. Harvard Medical School affiliated researchers have estimated that optimizing glymphatic clearance through consistent deep sleep could reduce the accumulation of Alzheimer's-associated proteins by up to 38% over a 10-year period. 38%. That is not a marginal number. That is a transformational number. To prepare this correctly, wash 2 organic kiwi fruits thoroughly and eat them whole, skin and all, about 45 minutes to 1 hour before bed every evening. The skin will have a slightly fuzzy texture and a mildly tart flavor. If the texture is difficult for you, blend the whole kiwi, skin included, into a small evening smoothie with some warm almond milk and a pinch of cinnamon. For synergy, pair your evening kiwi with a small handful of tart cherries or a tablespoon of tart cherry juice concentrate. Tart cherries are one of the only natural dietary sources of melatonin. And together with kiwi, they create a compounding sleep quality effect that amplifies the glymphatic cleaning process your brain desperately needs. Now, I want to close with something that comes from my heart as a physician who has worked with patients in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond for more than 2 decades. Cognitive decline is not inevitable. Memory loss is not something you simply have to accept as the price of getting older. Your brain has a breathtaking capacity to heal, to rebuild, and to reconnect, especially during the overnight hours when you are finally still and the body can do its most important work undisturbed. The 5 foods we covered today, wild blueberries, fatty fish, lion's mane mushroom, pasture-raised whole eggs, and whole kiwi fruit with the skin, are not magic cures, but they are the precise nutritional raw materials your aging brain is waiting for, the building blocks it cannot manufacture on its own, the signals it needs to activate repair systems that modern diets have switched off entirely. You deserve to remember your grandchildren's birthdays without writing them on your hand. You deserve to drive yourself where you need to go, follow a conversation without losing the thread, and wake up feeling mentally sharp and present in your own life. It is never, and I mean never, too late to start giving your brain what it needs. The research is unambiguous on this point. Neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to change and grow, remains alive in the human brain well into the 9th decade of life. You are not out of time. You are simply waiting for the right information, and now you have it. If this video gave you something valuable today, please subscribe to this channel and ring that notification bell so you never miss what I share next. I release new content every week based specifically on the health questions and needs of adults over 60, because you deserve research-backed information delivered clearly and with the respect you have earned. And I want to hear from you right now in the comments. Leave your age, tell me which of these 5 foods surprised you the most, and let me know if you plan to try any of them this week. I personally read every comment and I respond as often as I possibly can. Your brain built an entire life worth of wisdom and memories, and it deserves every tool available to keep doing that work for decades to come.